Welcome to the Sacred Window podcast. I'm your host, Christine Devlin Eck. Here at the Center for Sacred Window Studies, we explore and expand on conscious postpartum care. We navigate the overlap of caring for others and caring for ourselves. We honor the transitions, not only in giving birth, but in being alive. Welcome to the conversation.
And I will never be the same again.
Welcome to the Sacred Window podcast. Today, I'm so pleased to welcome Victoria Rose to our space. We're going to be talking about creating consciousness around IVF, in vitro fertilization, and supporting individuals and couples to reframe the process to one that's more sacred, to one that feels loving, to one that feels whole. And this is something we're leaning into a lot these days. And my guest, Victoria, is the founder of Luminous Birth, which is a platform and support and education around fertility, preconception, and birth. Victoria is a mentor, a family and birth visionary, a pre and perinatal psychology and health educator. She's a massage therapist, a Reiki master, holistic fertility practitioner, a spirit baby communicator, advocate, witness, ceremonialist, and educator. She's based in Portugal, and she supports women, couples, and families around the world through her services and her educational programs. Victoria, thank you so much for coming onto this podcast. This feels like such an important journey that we as people in the birth and postpartum field are really called to look closely at, is how can we create sacredness in all of the ways that people's journeys look. So I guess I just want to invite you to speak about why this topic for you.
Well, thank you so much, Christine. It's really a pleasure to be here, to be continuing this conversation. I think it's a very important conversation of our time and deserves a lot of awareness and, like you said, going in. And I think that we can all agree, no matter where we are on the journey, that creating family it's about love. And I always say there is thousands and thousands of years of Tibetan wisdom and hundreds, about 500 years, I think, of embryology. And still, we don't know how conception really happens. And so I always say it's magic. It is truly a miracle. And both on the assisted reproductive technology pathway and the other pathways of conceiving life, in a lot of the pathways that we're embarking on now as a culture, we've stripped the magic and the miracle and the love out of family creation. I work with parents from the time of preconception, and one of my specializations is in communication with babies, both born and unborn, and also not even conceived yet. And a lot of the ways that babies communicate are through the needs and the feelings of predominantly the mother. And in the family system as a whole, we start to see, things are changing on a biochemical level in the mother's body and the father's body as well. And also in their lives, they start to instinctually or intuitively feel, should we be living here? Do I like this job? All these things. Perhaps these are ways that these preconceived souls are already working to prepare us to receive them, to set up sanctuary for them before they even arrive. And one thing that we can see is that a lot of souls are choosing to come in via the medical route, the assisted reproductive pathway. This is a way that many souls are choosing to come in right now. And it's a stressful pathway. It's very, very intense. And I've walked alongside many women through that process before, during, after, and it's really a lot. And I think that there's so many things that we can do. One, to really come to a place of, is this the pathway that's needed, in a way of sovereignty? And also, if it is needed, how can we create maximum connection, for the mother and for the couple as they embark on that journey? No matter how conception, pregnancy, birth happens, it's meant to birth a mother and a father and parents and a whole family that thrives in love and connection and health and intimacy lifelong, no matter what. So we have all these, and that's the design, right? It's, I'm just speaking to what is the blueprint. Well, birth has the power to birth two human beings who now know that they can get through anything, no matter what. And the greater the challenge, the more love waits them on the other side. And so the potential, even in the whatever pathway is being chosen for conception, I think we really need to remember that it is about the love, especially the love of the parents, because it's that love that is overflowing to create this new life. And babies that are brought in that way, from that space of the feelings of that love, yeah, they thrive. Their immune systems thrive. Their nervous systems thrive. They grow knowing that they are safe, loved, protected, and an interconnected part of the whole. So I think there's a lot of things that we can do in the preconception time. One, to make the decision whether or not to embark on the art, we can call it art, yeah, art pathway, and bring the HE into the art, the heart. This is a pathway of the heart, and we must remember that, and really support the women, the couples, the families that are embarking on that pathway, so that the heart and the intention, the sacredness, doesn't get lost and forgotten, because it's never void. It's never gone anywhere, but the intensity, the invasiveness, the all the false beliefs that she holds about her body, about her capabilities, about her power, those false beliefs get really perpetuated by that harsh medical system, and by the things that are said or not said, and the stress of the appointments, the scheduling, the rigidity of the whole process it does bring women and couples into their minds, into the thinking brain, out of the body, out of the heart. And well, we know that that's not where birth happens. It happens in the body. And so there's all kinds of ways that we can help mothers and couples to experience this, to write this story as the love story that it is.
It's so profound to me. First of all, it's just so clear how important it is to have this other truly feminine source side of the story when we're navigating such a stark modern medical, masculine in a way, model of how to start your family, how to become pregnant. What's blowing my mind, because I don't think I've ever really leaned into thinking about this in the way that you've proposed, is that it's not just about the couple, it's about the child that's coming in and their choices and how they want to come in. And so thinking about it more as a partnership that's rooted in really transcendent love that goes beyond, you know, the mechanical process here. We're really anchoring that family unit before the baby has even physically come in. So
Mm-hmm.
that to me, like that through current of love is exactly what we can lean into and rely on. And yet that messaging, unless someone just can feel that and access that naturally, that's where we really want to have the support in the team and the loving community that's reminding us constantly and helping us to, because when we're in it, it's hard to see that love when we're hurting, when we're heartbroken, when
Mm-hmm.
we're fearful of what may or may not happen. And
Mm-hmm.
so ultimately, it's that love that gets us through all of it, that
Yeah.
sustains us and that sets us up for receiving everything. It's like literally the point. So, wow. Yeah. Thank you for being this person for so many people. And I'm curious, I guess, about I'm curious about so many things, but when you are working with a couple, what does this look like, this journey?
Mm. Well, a real place that I like to start is having couples look at their own birth and conception imprints. So, that moment that we were conceived left an imprint on us. We don't often think of what was the energy beneath my parents' lovemaking, and how does that influence and actually inform who I am and how I am in the world today. And this is why I say it's more than something to consider. Is this is a reality that we were all conscious and aware participants in our lives from the time of preconception. And all of the most advanced sciences and pre and perinatal psychology show us also this. But if we go deep enough into our hearts, into our bones, into our bodies, this is something we know. It's a knowing. And but yeah, pre and perinatal sciences show us that human development begins long before conception. So all of the energies that are present in your parents' life and their relationship, their beliefs, their perceptions, their worldviews, all of these things, that is the information that informs our development. And then if we zoom into that time of conception, we see, wow, that's who I am. That is who I am. When we look at the energy that was present for me, the energy surrounding my conception was heated passion. My parents were deeply in love, but it was passionate. It was like wow. And it took me a while. It took me actually a few years to access that memory. And I realized when I remember accessing it with one of my elders, Barbara Essman, the founder, director, co-founder and director of the Sacred Birthing School in Kauai. I remember her bringing me into a space where I accessed that conception memory, and I was like speechless. And all I could say was, that's who I am. And I remember her face looking back at me and going, yes. And so we all have the memory of our conception in us, in our bodies. It influences how we experience the world and how we interpret our experiences. And so, yeah, looking at our own birth imprints and our pre-birth imprints is essential. And then to see that our birth imprints, our birth memories and pre-birth memories are representing every day of our lives. It's like I said, the way that we are experiencing the world, and more than that, the way we're interpreting our experiences. And so once we become aware of that, we see that our birth and pre-birth memories are representing, especially when we go through times of change and transition, and especially when we embark on the conception, pregnancy, and birth journey. And so these feelings of Am I loved? Am I supported? Will I be accepted? These feelings of facing possible rejection, or all of these things are coming from long before the early confusing childhood experiences. These go back to in utero, and maybe even before that. Maybe even the reason why our parents had us, right? So when we look at that, we can help to then resource our bodies on our journey of conception and our relationship, and on this journey, and begin to give ourselves now what we've always never not needed. Now, the conception, pregnancy, birth journey is the ultimate journey that gives us the ultimate opportunity to re-imprint our birth and pre-birth, to literally welcome a new story into our lives, to stitch a new rescripted story into our life. So from here, so we would look at that. Yeah, we would look at that. How were you born, and why? Where did where did you come from? All these things, and one of the things that I then really like to do is to have mamas and papas, especially mama, to create space where she can feel the feelings associated with being chosen. And that's a big thing, because I believe that birth is, in its highest expression, nothing more than receiving love. And so our capacity to open, to receive ultimately the love that we are, really reveals at birth time. So I believe that, and our children's core beliefs about whether or not they're loved, whether or not they belong, whether or not they're safe in their world, are informed by predominantly the mother's beliefs about whether or not she's safe, whether or not she's loved, and whether or not she belongs. And those are not cognitive. Our beliefs are not cognitive. They're not intellectual. So we can have all the enlightening experiences and do all the therapy and have these nice, beautiful openings and breakthroughs, but we still have to acknowledge that our bodies hold a very different story than our intellect. And the body at conception, pregnancy, and birth, like nowhere does the body tell the story louder than during this time. At birth, the body, that is the library of memory of everything you have ever experienced, all the way back to before you've even been conceived, is getting opened. One way or another, the body has to open. And so I think a really good way is to, start to begin to open to the possibility of feeling the magnitude of that feeling of being chosen and letting that love in. And that will change you on a biochemical level. That shifts your hormones and everything. And then from that heart space, we can begin to open up a channel of communication with the preconceived baby. And this is where I have parents tell their story, because their story is their child's history, right? We all know that. We say, oh, how did you get here? Oh, well, my dad came over on the boat, and then my mom changed her job, and then they both moved over to this country, and then I was conceived, and then I was. So these are our histories. Their story, it's our history. So I have parents tell their story. How did you meet? What did you fall in love with? Like when you saw him, what was it that brought you together? Tell your story. And begin to facilitate this intimacy with your child already, knowing that they're already a part of you. They're an extension of you. And tell the story. You can tell the story in the same way that you would tell me or your best friend your story. Tell them about all the highs and the lows and the things you're so excited about and the things you're so afraid of. And all the things that you've experienced that have maybe eroded your confidence in this journey, or the things that you're scared of when it comes to your relationship, all these things. This is all, we can just explain it all out. And now we have connection. We have a channel of connection where, at least through our own minds and awareness, we're now including them as a conscious participant in their life from the very beginning. And this is where we can start to actually ask really specific questions like, I've been through this and this and this, and I just can't wait to have you in my arms. I want you here right now. I just don't even want to wait. I just love you so much. Would you, are you willing to come in this way? And this is how we cultivate sovereign beings. And those answers are communicated through the feelings of the mother and the father. So some it's no. It's, oh no, I don't need to come in that way. Like, I have my timing and everything is already perfect here. And then we can ask questions like, do you foresee any blockages on your journey of conception or pregnancy or birth? Yeah, is there anything I need to know or look at? And then sometimes we ask this question of, are you willing to come in this way? And there's just total ease and relaxation in the parents' bodies. And it's like, sure, yeah, that's how, the doorway can open, then yeah, let's do that. And in this way, then when we embark on that journey, that assisted reproductive pathway, the parents are feeling so connected, they're feeling supported, like really supported on that journey. And this is very different than the common narrative, which is parents, couples embarking on that pathway, or singles, mothers embarking on that pathway, not feeling supported, feeling judged, feeling the shame and all of these things that, when this is coming from deep within, and we're all on this journey together, then that kind of connection can be nurtured the whole way through. So every little part of the journey, yeah, the doctor's appointments, the taking the hormones, all these things can be a potentially very sacred space where the baby is included, and mama feels the feelings of, wow, I'm taking this into my body, as you can call it what you want, liquid gold, and my body knows what to do with this. And this is helping my body to create the right environment to nurture the life that is coming in. Really advanced medical doctors outside of the Western model, let's look at functional medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, for a really ancient model of medicine, Ayurvedic especially, yeah, these doctors know that when we talk to our bodies, we do things with our bodies, not to our bodies, that the intelligence of the body, the biology, produces all the enzymes, everything that is needed to accommodate what is happening. And that's a very different thing than doing things to the body. That is somehow, yeah, everything that you're putting in, a message of, I don't trust you, you can't do this on your own, all of that. So yeah, the spiritual dimension and the biological dimension, emotional dimension, none of these things are separate. So it's time that we can really look at this through a holistic lens, and holistic with a W.
Yes, it's so profound when we really acknowledge, looking through the Ayurvedic lens of the subtle, the space ether element is the most subtle of our elements. And we gradually move into air and fire and water and earth. We gradually become more physical. But when we create the qualities that we need that are aligned and balanced and clear and intentional within that ether element, that's most subtle plane of our existence, when we create that first, everything that comes after is more easeful, and it has a map with which to go.
Mm-hmm.
When I am listening to you and acknowledging the journey of beginning family in this intentional way and really giving the baby the opportunity to communicate with us in a way that we can hear and also begin to trust that we can communicate that way, that we can communicate with our higher self, which never guides us wrong. It's just we sometimes turn off that listening component and we
Mm-hmm.
feel separate. But when we're able to direct and craft, like you said, that art, creating that heart centered, subtle plane of our humanity, which is not separate from our physical body, it opens up the path.
Mm-hmm.
We move through it in an intentional and sacred way.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So as we're supporting families who are navigating, and I love what you said about how it can kind of just naturally become such a sacred experience because it's been intentional, it's been communicated, there's been an agreement of sorts. And so as we move through that, it has a very different feel than
Mm-hmm.
one of like, this is my last resort, or
Mm-hmm.
I can't, my body has failed me. And so now I'm moving into this path that feels really scary and feels, um, doesn't feel like a chosen path.
Right. Yeah.
That you can see how 100% different energetically that process will be for families, and therefore the imprints that we're creating within ourselves and within our partners and within our child about what starting a family means.
Right. Those imprints, they're so important because it's not only the baby that's being imprinted, it's the entire family system that's being imprinted, right? So we don't have research on this, but I wholeheartedly believe that bringing the sacredness into this equation absolutely enhances the effectiveness of all medical modalities and any modality, really. I think it really influences the success. I've worked with women who have had the last woman that I worked with, actually, who went through this pathway, she had 6 losses previous of IVF. And so you can imagine the enormity of implanting that seventh embryo and really facing the possibility of loss yet again. This was a deep existential journey for her. And we brought in all of that communication and all through the entire process, from the decision of whether and when and how and all the things to do it, then through the implantation process, then through her now being pregnant and her own beliefs, like her own process, not even being able to consider that she might be because she couldn't get her hopes up, and me being there saying, oh no, you are pregnant, you are pregnant, creating a space where she could feel the feelings of being pregnant, because that's what's bringing baby in, that's what's making them burrow in deeper into the uterine lining and set up home there for themselves. So yeah, I think this definitely increases the success rates of art. And then to really look at that, yeah, usually but what we're seeing is that conceptions that happen, medicalized conceptions, typically lead to medicalized births. And we know, and you know so well, this is your realm of genius, that, yeah, the postpartum time is the most critical developmental milestone of a woman's life. It informs the next 40, 50 years of her physical, mental, emotional, spiritual health, right? And everything that precedes it informs it. So, having that deep connection during the preconception and the conception time means that that will naturally continue throughout the pregnancy. the prenatal bonding will continue. She will be every step of the journey fostering deep sense of trust in her body and in her baby. And then that can be carried through to the birth and softening that experience so that we can set up the most optimal postpartum time. And when we forget to put light and support on the couple, on the love of the relationship, when that unit isn't like revered and supported the way it needs to be and innately deserves to be, then the intelligence, the wisdom of birth tries to facilitate all of that in an however many hour labor. It typically doesn't work, typically leads to unexplained obstacles. And this is imprinting the lifespan. So then we see all kinds of issues coming up in marriages and divorces and all of these things. I believe that all of that is imprinted from the preconception time of the childbearing continuum. And another way to put this is that conception, pregnancy, and birth holds all the codes for lifelong love. And if we know this, then we can resource ourselves and bring ourselves in the support that we need so that life or birth can do the thing that it does naturally, which teaches these two ordinary humans that they're in fact superhumans and they can get through anything, no matter what. Because birth is just the first of many life challenges that are going to present. And yeah, getting to go through those processes supported and deeply present for it. Being deeply present, I think, is everything. It's like if you are already not present and are taken out of your body already preconception, it's, yeah, pregnancy is going to be a different thing. Birth is going to be a different thing. And then the everything that follows is potentially going to be challenging. So, and it's obviously not black or white. None of these things are indefinite. These are just things to consider and things to, you know, bring us into really consider the opportunity that we have available to us.
There's like just an amplification. I've always felt intuitively like this childbearing year, it's just like it's a microcosm within like this huge macrocosm of the universe and life, but it's all just concentrated and amplified in this window of time where it's just like a portal with, and of course it's been described as a portal before, but it's like this special opportunity. It's why we call it the sacred window. It's like our opportunity for tapping into that blueprint, like you just talked about, that is what shows itself in this time. Like we actually get to like look at it in a from like a lens that's so just unfiltered and right there. And if we are given the invitation or we have that knowing to be fully present with it, it will inform everything we know about ourselves and everything with what we wish to see for ourselves moving forward and looking behind. And it's almost as though, you know, we're inside this like beautiful crystal ball and like everything makes sense within that space. So I could not resonate more deeply with you in that by exploring that sacred aspect of this completely impacts on every level the physical and the medical side of what we experience. And so to me, this is everything about why I do what I do. And I can feel that with you as well. And what's so poignant here is that even as I'm listening to you, I'm like, oh, wow. And I'm like applying this to some of the things that we talk about for postpartum because they are intrinsically linked. This is part of the same in our crystal ball here. Like we're all like, they're just different stages around this sacred cycle, this concentrated microcosm here, where every stage of this journey is going to impact the next. And then as we ripple out, and now my littlest baby is 7, but I'm still impacted every day, every moment by what I went through before. And when I can honor those connections, when I can see and be assured that there is wisdom and purpose and intention behind everything that has happened, everything that is in my space in this moment, and everything that's about to come for my children and my grandchildren, like, to me, that creates this utter trust and connection in myself and in my knowing and my plan of why I came into this world and how it all worked out. And so when we have that trust, we can see that in our partners, we can see that in our children, and it changes everything. It changes everything about how we feel about this very moment and what it means to be fully present. And I guess the possibilities there are infinite, aren't they, with how that impacts life?
Absolutely. It's so beautiful how you articulated all of that, Christine. And it really makes me think about how it's important that we open up the picture to the big picture. You mentioned your grandchildren, great grandchildren. And typically in the preconception time, what I've noticed is that couples or mamas are really fixated on conceiving. And then in pregnancy, we have a hyperfixation on birth. And so much so that tragically we forget there's going to be a postpartum time. And then, so there's this fixation, and then that means we're just showing up to, oh, wow, okay, now I'm pregnant. Whoa, okay, whoa, I'm birthing. Oh my God, I have a baby. Oh my goodness. And what you're describing is like living in this way that is integrated, and that the time of your life isn't just passing you by. That's the power of presence. And that's the foundation upon which families are meant to be built. We can all imagine how it would have felt in our nervous systems, in our bodies, if when we were a child, the moments where we either, if we didn't see it and we didn't experience it, we can all imagine, even if we didn't have mom and dad in the same room, right? Is how we felt when our parents were present. Or, and to go one step further, if they were friends and getting along and showing love to one another. And we all know, and even if we have to imagine that because it wasn't our lived experience, we can all imagine it. And that in those moments, yeah, the whole system comes into balance. That child knows, they know that they are safe to the degree that they are not even questioning whether or not they're safe, whether or not they're loved, whether or not it literally is that presence and that love of the parents that informs that safety. So, wow, there's so much that we could talk about and explore there, but I really like this notion, which came up for me yesterday in a birth keepers mentorship that I'm running, that yeah, we need to slow down wherever that opportunity becomes available. I think that's a good homework for all of us.
Yeah. Yeah. And notice, how does that shift? How does that shift everything we experience in this moment when we slow down and really let it be to its fullest capacity in whatever qualities are there? And how does that inform the next moment? And that's a really hard thing for us to do in the type of life that we live and the type of cultures that we live in sometimes. But what I'm really taking away, from this incredible conversation is, it's not so much that, yes, the journey through IVF, there's a lot to say about it, and there's a lot that we can explore with how to support ourselves on different levels through it. And those are things that we're looking into here. But what's most important is creating the space and the intentionality and the permission and the sovereignty with our family unit. And if that is honored, it changes everything. It impacts everything.
100%, 100%. And we can and we get to reframe the stories. We are living in a time where there are big industries thriving on our false belief that we're somehow broken, that we're somehow inadequate. And so when it comes to this pathway of reproduction, creating our future generations, I really think it's important for us to come really back into the truth of the matter, which is not what the doctor is saying, which is, you can't do this without me. When I hear these stories from women of what they have been through, and the rounds of treatment, and the letdowns, and the heartbreaks, and the pain, and then through these words and these stories, I'm hearing devotion, commitment, dedication, courage, bravery, strength, all these things. And I have chills just saying this. And these are not stories of brokenness. These are not stories of failure. These are love stories. These are stories of women who are loving their children so deeply that they're already, long before they even come into form, are willing to do anything to have them in their arms. These are love stories. They're not stories of brokenness. And this is the imprint that needs to go with mothers and fathers into their journey of parenting. This is what births family. This is the story that needs to be written.
Victoria, thank you so much for every moment of this conversation. I'm wanting to share with our listeners the program that you have created called Luminescence. And this is a fertility and preconception program, and you are currently enrolling into this program throughout the first few weeks of March until March 21st, and the program is going to start on the 24th. This is a 12-week journey. And what do you want listeners to know? And of course, I'll put the link to access this course, but what do you want listeners to know about this program that you've created?
Well, no matter where you are on the journey, if you've yet to meet your partner yet, or you foresee family creation off in the future, or if you are with the one and you are ready to make a baby right now, this program is for you. The preconception program, when we really tune into it and we say, yes, I'm ready, life then begins to prepare us. And so the preconception time can be years and it can be months. And I think that Luminescence really resources every single person in a way that helps them to become engaged as a conscious participant in that process. We come together every 2 weeks for a live call for deep support, integration, and every 2 weeks a new module will unlock. And in those modules, there's 90 minutes worth of content. So that means that all the participants have 2 weeks to introduce 90 minutes, just 90 minutes of content into their lives as a contemplative kind of experience. So it's really not time heavy, time commitment heavy. But I have hand selected all of our contributors. So all of the teachers who are teaching inside the program are truly exceptional. I took the program last year. I'm taking the program again this year. I'm so excited to learn from these incredible teachers, some who have 30, 40, 50 plus years of experience in these realms of fertility health, conception, pregnancy, birth, parenting. I think this is poignant just to point out, because in this way, it's kind of, it's beyond evidence-based, right? It's like, these are people who have tens of thousands of hours of lived experiences, grassroots experiences, working with families, working with mothers, working with babies. So the areas that we cover are, of course, first and foremost, Ayurvedic wisdom for preconception. We go into, there's a module then on healing your own birth and conception imprints, clearing your inheritance, ancestral nourishment, relationship resilience, cycle awareness, and reclaiming body sovereignty, preconception communication and bonding, what we've been talking about. And then there's a bonus module which actually covers all the most critical and controversial areas. These are the areas that aren't being talked about so much. And those areas are male fertility, vaccines, assisted reproductive technology, conceiving after 40, navigating things like blood panels and testing and functional medicine realms. Yeah, what does it really mean to protect our children in this world? And of course, preparing the pathway for a peaceful pregnancy, a blissful birth, and postpartum time. So we cover all of these things in a really beautiful, nurturing 12-week experience. We have mentors. I believe one of your students actually is mentoring our community forum. So there's a community forum where the participants can communicate together and really be in the journey together. But there's also birth keepers in that space, supporting that space. So the integration, the learning, the growth, the health that is flowing is incredible. And I'm so excited about this creation. It's already an incredible thing that we've come to a place where we prioritize the importance of prenatal care. And I think it's in yet another quantum leap that we are now prioritizing preconception care, but for all the reasons that you articulated so beautifully, which is one literally flows into the next. So I'm really excited to meet all of the participants for this year's cohort. It's a program that we only offer once a year. So the next enrollment will open in 2026.
Amazing. And I'm so also pleased to announce that Victoria will be coming to Sacred Window Studies to offer a guest lecture this summer, which we're just so honored to be able to partner with you and create just an exchange of education and wisdom and support for all of us who are on this journey of really seeing the vital sacred magic that all of this is, and how this area like anchors us to our own humanity in so many ways. It's not just about providing care for others, it's truly transformative to self as well. And so, Victoria, thank you for everything that you bring to your work and to this world. I'm so happy to be connected with you, and we'll talk soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Shanti, Shanti.
The Sacred Window podcast is brought to you by the Center for Sacred Window Studies. You can visit us to find out more about our online training and mentoring programs, plus resources and products for and about the Sacred Postpartum Window at www.sacredwindowstudies.com. And our music is written and performed by Sarah Emmett. You can hear more of Sarah's music by visiting www.sarahemmett.bandcamp.com.